Potowatomi Indian Council, and so we want to welcome him tonight. He's going to talk to us about what he has knowledge of, the Indians, from his point of view, and also show us a bunch of things here. Looks pretty interesting. So we want to thank him for coming. So we have something.
Okay, well, we need to stand up, and we are going to do our Jesus chant. And you're going to have to do it really, really good because this whole group is not here. So
here comes two.
Oh, here comes a couple of You made it. All right.
It's not here, no. It's just you guys.
It's just you guys. So you're going to have to help us. You're going to have to do the Jesus chant.
You get more food to eat when it's your turn to eat.
All right, Miss Janet, you ready to go?
Is that right?
Yep. You guys remember the motions?
Remember how to make your letters? Give me a J.
You got a J. You got a J.
Give me an E.
You got an E. You got an E.
Give me an S.
You got an S. You got an S.
Give me a U.
You got a U. You got a U.
Give me an S.
You got an S. You got an S.
What does that spell?
Jesus.
Say it again.
Jesus.
King of kings.
Jesus.
Lord of lords.
Jesus.
Mighty God.
Jesus.
Risen one.
Jesus.
Say it louder.
Jesus.
Louder still.
Jesus.
One more time.
And you may be seated.
Thank you all very much. Bonjour, Mokunim Sadisticus, Mako, Potowatomi Indao, Ogimau Sawa, Gibijayan Mampi. In my language, I introduced my spirit to you. My spirit name is Bear Paw. I belong to the Bear clan of the Potowatomi Nation. I'm the head man of my family, Ogimau Sawa, and Gibijayan Mampi. I'm very happy to be here and now at this moment. I'm also known as Jefferson Bellew. I was born in Mishawaka, Indiana, so I'm a Hoosier. But I grew up in Los Angeles, California. I spent 18 years out there, and once I graduated high school, I moved back to the Great Lakes area. When I was in 6th grade, I found out I was a Native American through my school in Los Angeles. So I didn't know through my family lines, I was told through the school, and we were registered with the federal government. As a Native American person, we had to go through a different citizenship process to be Americans than most other individuals who migrated here. So when I say who I'm from the Pokagon Band of Potowatomi Indians. That's one of the 9 bands that make up the 9 different regions of the Potowatomi people. So here in the Indiana area, we had more than just the Potowatomi. We also had the Miami, the Wyandotte, the Huron. We had Peoria. We had Shawnee, who will come up in this area also. So when you hear about the Native American people from the Great Lakes Basin, Ohio River Valley, we call ourselves Anishinaabe. Can you say Anishinaabe? Anishinaabe. And that simply means human beings. In our language, it's human beings. And one of the very special gifts that we were gifted when we were first put here on our earth was our tobacco. It was a gift that Kim had given to me for me to come here and be a part of this. Tobacco is our first sacrament. Whenever we want to take something from creation, whether it be a strawberry, we ask permission first and we use that tobacco. But if I want to sit down with my elders and find out knowledge about where I come from, my family history, where my grandmother grew up, if I want to take that time and receive that information, I'll give tobacco to that person before we sit down, and so that they know that what's going to happen is a give and a take. So we don't want to take information, we don't want to take food, we don't want to take water without asking first. The way that we were taught as little children when we were sitting around our aunties and uncles, our creation story is that all of the animals were placed here first before we were here. The birds had a very specific responsibility, and they carried the seeds of life. And that was the very first sound of creation, is our rattles falling, our seeds falling to our earth. And so they had that very first responsibility of singing those songs. So what we do when we start our storytelling sessions is we have a song that we open up also. So when we're getting ready to share all this information, I'd also like to share in song with you. So this is how we open up our storytelling songs and also our ceremonies also. So thank you. Sacred gifts that the Creator gives to all of us human beings is our voice. But it's also something that can be misused the most often in how we treat each other and the way that we tell lies or stories about other people that may not be true. So when we come in to tell about storytellings, we're talking about things that we've been taught for generations, that we know to be true because people that we love have told us this, or that we've read them in certain history books, or that we've heard them from people that we value their information or that are maybe smarter than us, so to say. So when we sit down to do storytelling, it's not about telling stories or fibs or white lies. It's actually talking about the mythology of how things came to be upon our motherly earth. And so all of the things that you see here are what we call mnemonic tools. They're reminders of what we're supposed to remember in the very beginning of infancy. So one of the very first things I would like to talk about is my shield that I carry. So I introduced myself to you as Bear Paw, Makwanich, right? So you see that bear's paw right here in the center. So when I was a young man, this name was given to me so that I would understand what my role and responsibility is as the bear's paw, the hand of the bear. And that's the very most loving thing that comes from a bear, right? That mother bear will address its young and caress its young, will pull them into herself. And you know the neat thing about bears, besides our heads, our bodies are exactly the same. We can stand up upright. They have 5 fingers, 5 toes. They're able to stand up and have hips that swivel, birth just the same way that we do, and they feed their young right from their own. So without our heads on, we look exactly like the bear. And the bear is also the one animal that if you follow in the woods, you can eat every berry that the bear eats, you can eat every food, and you can even drink from the same waters that the bear drinks from also. Nowadays, with pollution, you might not want to drink right from the waters. One of the tricks that we use, and we've always been taught, the yellow dandelions, pop a yellow dandelion, and put it in the water. If it wilts right away, it's not safe to drink. It's something that we were always taught. Dandelions are very active or reactive to bad water. They'll close up and wilt right away, so they don't suck up bad water. So that was one of the tricks that we were as a kid. When we were lower here on our mother the earth, Anishinaabe makes reference to those that were lowered upon our mother the earth. And so when we were lowered upon our mother the earth, we were lowered into a field of strawberries. And you say, "O Damon"? O Damon. O Damon means the heart berry. And the woodland strawberry, not the Franken Walmart berry, but little small woodland strawberries. They're very sweet. They have every vitamin and nutrient inside that little berry to sustain life. It was also our very first lesson as human beings. Have any of you ever overeaten strawberries or grapes or fruit of every kind. Just because you're sitting in a field of strawberries doesn't mean you should eat them all, right? Actually, we have a teaching that the first berry or the first fruit that you come upon, you never take that first one because they'll always have seeds for the next one. And never take the last one so that those seeds are there also. So you always are looking for. And again, when we go and pick that strawberry, we actually have a relationship with that strawberry and we ask permission. Can we pick you? Can we harvest you? And we take a second to pay attention to see and make sure it's ripe enough. It's not sick or it's green, right? So we're always listening to what creation has to offer us. And so again, it was our very first food, but also our very first lesson about moderation. Don't eat them all. Leave some for others. It'll also make you sick. My tribe, the Pokagon Band of Potawatomis, is known for Kahunmaka, our annual harvest powwow of huckleberries. Kahunmaka makes reference to its time to stop picking the huckleberry. Any of you been to St. Patrick's Park in South Bend? Maybe you haven't traveled that far, a few. That is a traditional homeland gathering of the Potawatomi people, and for many years prior to our federal recognition, we gathered at St. Patrick's Park to honor that time of harvest, the huckleberry, Kahunmaka. So on my shield, you'll see that huckleberry. The huckleberry is a wild blueberry. A blueberry is a cultivated huckleberry. So Huckleberry Hound was one of my favorite cartoon characters as a kid, but also my favorite jam, and who would have known it also was what brought me back here to Indiana. Was my first powwow in 1988 at St. Patrick's Park, and that's where I met the mother of my children. We lived our life, so there's our two loves and our trails. So my shield tells a story of who I am as Makwaninch, that I'm a father and I provide food, and that I've had this journey that has brought me together to this point in my life where I have children. Now upon my shield, I also have what are called syllabics, ABCs, our alphabets. Many anthropologists and ethnographers say that the indigenous people of North America and South America did not have an alphabet. We had several alphabets with up to 26 syllabics in each one of those alphabets. And our alphabets were different if we were traveling on water or if we were traveling on land. If we were harvesting berries or if we were harvesting medicine. If we were harvesting animals or if we were harvesting woods. And so all of those alphabets would be different. And we even had our own texting time of what was called people call, what we would write notes back and forth on. And we would write on birch bark, the white bark of the birch tree. It's called Masinigan in our language, that's sacred writing. So we would write up and down, north, south, east to west, the same way that the Orient did also. So on my shield, it says, Umbe sa atida da. That means, come, behold, let us have a contest. So as a father, I'm always trying to protect my family from that negative. So as that positive entity within the family, I'm always challenging that. Come, let's have a contest. Let's see who's the better person. And luckily, throughout the 25 years of being a parent, I've been able to stand forth and raise them all. And I have 2 grandchildren now to prove it too. So our shields, again, everything that we have tells a story. In American culture, it says that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Within indigenous cultures, it's quite the opposite, where a picture is worth 1,000 years in most times. For us here in the Great Lakes Basin, Ohio River Valley, we have a migration story that our very first migration took place over 50,000 years, and we came up through the very center of South America, right up through North America, from Machu Picchu to Mishu Picchu. Mishu Picchu is the mouth of the Mississippi. In our language, we call Mississippi Mishu Picchu, which is also the underwater copper cat, the spirit of the Mississippi River also. So if you look at how the Hokwelian mounds have been built, right up from the center of South America, right up through the center of North America, we have that relationship between the fresh water of the Mississippi flowing all the way down into the Rio Grande, connecting into the Gulf of Mexico, connecting into the Amazon. All of that is one continuous water source that connects us geographically. Our cultures are similar in the fact that they are of the jaguar, we are of the bear. So we identify each other on how we see nature and how nature is around us. South America is much more junglish and has much more predators than does North America. So we have that understanding between our cultures also. Our second migration took place some 30,000 years later after that, where we left the East Coast, now known as Delaware. In our language, we called it Abenaki or Lini Lenape, the people of the Wallam Olam. And we were told to head toward Michigami. There was a prophecy that came to us, and we were to follow the water systems until we found where food grew upon the water. And so in our culture, Michigami is Michigan. That's where the bear's hand is, and the rabbit is jumping over the bear's hand. And that's where wild rice grows, all from the whole Great Lakes Basin into the Ohio River Valley. Of course, the Kankakee was the watershed for the Great Lakes. We had abundance of wild rice. Does anybody know what wild rice is? You ever had wild rice? It's not Uncle Ben's. They have a variation of, right, mixed long grain rices. That's an all right blend too. Our wild rice is black, and this is what our rice looks like. And so we have a process that we have to actually go through for our food. And our survival for our wild rice depended upon our children because us adults have too much big feet and too much waste. And so when we would have to dance our wild rice, to dance the husk off, us adults would crack it. So it would usually be our young ladies before their mens, so that they wouldn't germinate or anti-germinate the seed. So our young ladies were the ones who were dancing our rice, taking care of us, right? In front of the grandmas and the aunties, and us men were singing songs. And so in America we have this affliction, right? Processed food is killing us, right? We're eating so much, we go right into the freezer, we can put it right in the microwave, and we don't have enough time to process this much rice, which is maybe 2 servings. This took 10 hours. Of just me, of course. Now imagine 30 young people and 300 aunties and uncles harvesting all of that rice, bringing it in, all of the songs that are being, you hear all the dancing, you see all the winnowing, everything that's happening, right? So prior to European arrival, men worked an average of 14 hours a week. Women worked an average of 17 hours a week. And of course, everybody would instantly think, oh, well, women have more responsibilities because of our kids. No. In our culture here in the Great Lakes Basin, Ohio River Valley, it was our women who were the legislators. They're the ones who made the laws. They're the only ones who can declare war. They're the ones who brought life into this world. They're the only ones who say when life could be took. Us men, we have no patience. And when we do, we become patients, right? So there's a play on words with that. But women being able to have patience in bearing children, 10 months of not being able to do anything else but have a child, and focus on the growing of that. Men, we have a hard time just focusing on our canoe going down the river. That's why we work 14 hours. We work a lot during that 14 hours so we could go and play on the rivers and do those kinds of fun stuff that we like to do. What we were useful for us men was listening to what the ladies told us to do and going and disseminating that information. We laugh now at it, right? But remember, we were raised this way since we were children to understand it. So there is a difference in societal values. And so again, when the European came and says, send us the heads of family, heads of state, and we'll negotiate treaties. Well, what happened? We sent our women. And the European has and had no respect, especially politically and spiritually, for a women-based society. So that's where the demise of our society. Then the women said, hey, they didn't listen to us and they treated us badly. You guys got to go deal with them. And now we're sitting here like, what? We're on the rivers, right? That's where we want to be, is fishing with Uncle. We're not supposed to be out taking care of business. So the idea of society, especially in an indigenous viewpoint, were a center where all life comes from, a female. Isn't that where decisions, where patience, where ideology should come from also? Where the center of all life comes from? At least that's how our indigenous society set that up. And our women have that structure because of their inherent responsibilities. So when we get back into processing our food again, one of the main foods that has changed over 500 years in America is corn on the cob, right? So This is what corn on the cob looked like before the European came here. Now that'd be a lot of corn to try and eat to get hungry, right? You actually cannot eat this type of corn right off of the husk. Many of you may have used Indian corn for Halloween and Thanksgiving, but it's actually real corn. We utilize that corn, but it has to be soaked in fire ash and the hardwood ash of the oak specifically, because of the potassium and the niacin in there pulls the husk off. If you were to bite into a fresh ear of corn and eat it like the corn on the cob, you'd blow up like the girl on Willy Wonka and the blueberry. It'd be that big, your belly would get all big. There's too much of that husk in there and it blows up our belly. So that has to be processed. Again, processing our food is what kept us healthy, kept us in shape, and there's a common theme or a common misunderstanding about Native American people, that we were nomadic, that we kind of just wandered. We knew exactly when the milkweed was ready. How many of you have ever eaten the florets off of milkweed? Nobody? How many here love asparagus and broccoli? It is a mixture of those two together. At the very top florets of milkweed that are blanched 3 times and just before boiling water, till the milky's not in it no more, saute up a little bit of olive oil and butter. Exactly. Just the same. Just the same. Just the same. And then we take the little leaves and we make milkweed soup. And we throw in pork, we throw in turkey, we throw in corn. It's great. Everything out there. But we follow the grocery store. And the grocery store was Chicago. Anybody know what Chicago means? The place of the skunk. We also, I'm sure many of you have been there, or if not, want to go to Chicago, right? Chicago, the place of the skunk. Wild garlic and wild onions and leeks grew there, so it stunk. Plus, it was the edge of the marsh, methane gas. Wow, it smells just like Jago. Jago, who is one of our greatest storytellers ever. Jago, our skunk. Right? The greatest storyteller in our community, especially with our young ladies. Years and years and tens of thousands of years ago, before humans ever walked the earth, lived the most beautiful animal ever. And it was this animal, the skunk. Go ahead and pass it around if you like. The skunk was all white. She had long, pretty hair. But she always took all day to clean herself and keep her hair pretty. And she one day went up to Badger and says, "Badger, it's fall time, winter's around the corner, will you please make my house pretty for me?" And she said, "I ain't got no time for you, I gotta go. Please, Badger, please." And Badger says, "Okay, fine." So Badger goes and digs her, gets all dirty, and then goes and digs his house. And Skunk goes along her merry way. Squirrel is busy getting all the nuts, acorns, walnuts, hazelnuts, ready to go, pawpaws, all ready to go for our winter time. He's storing them. Skunk says, "I need some nuts. Will you help me too? I don't have any food for the winter." Squirrel says, "No, I gotta go. She says, "Please." Of course, Squirrel says, "Okay, fine, I'll help." Not once did Skunk say thank you. Not once was she grateful. All she did was her please and her little curtsy. So Badger and Skunk got mad, and they went and talked to Brother Bear. And Brother Bear said, "Okay, let's all get together and talk about this." And about how Skunk never wants to help in the community, how Skunk always just takes her own time. She doesn't want to socialize or talk about it, and she doesn't want to be a part of the process. So Brother Bear had an idea. And in these times, again, in the animal world, is much harsher than in the human world, right? So Bear looks over and says, "I have an idea." Grabs Skunk right down the back and dips her in the fire and pulls her back out. That long white streak is where Brother Bear held her into that fire. And the black, dark stank that you smell of her is so that you always know where she is and that she will never be alone, because she'll always have 12 babies. They always have between 8 and 12 kids. So her punishment for vanity was family life, which mothers know. You have to sacrifice vanity at times for your children, right? So again, it's a teaching about how we can share with our kids. And if you noticed, there was no stank, no smell to it, the way that the furs are processed and removed, the scent glands and all those. We have those opportunities to do that. I'm going to pass it around. This is an otter. This is a sea otter. The otter is very important within our culture. Two purposes. One, Great Lakes Basin, Ohio River Valley gets cold, right? And so our river otters and our sea otters will make nice clothes. So this is my yoke, my ceremonial or my dance yoke. Again, it tells a story of who I am, right? I have that right here, that bear's paw. That's who I am. You'll see the different claws that are here. There's a story about the 6 mysterious strangers that came to give us our clan system and how our governance was. And so those represent that. I'm from the Great Lakes Basin, so I have flora and fauna instead of geometrical designs. Again, I have my strawberries on my back as a father to remind myself of the burden to feed and care for my family. And it keeps me warm, and it's pretty. And I made it. And I made it too. Many of the items here we ourselves try to make so that we show our understanding of who we are, of how clothes went together. Anybody ever seen Pocahontas? Right? And how many of you have ever run in the woods in your bathing suit? Not me. But she did, right? We typically wouldn't run around in the woods in our bathing suits. We had really cool pants that we use. Nowadays, there's a group of recreational and clubs that wear the same type of pants, our chaps, right? Our Harley riders, our Indian riders, our motorcycle riders. Well, our clothes were designed for a very specific way. Of course, going out, what's that? Yeah, of course, going out in the woods, right? Especially in the Great Lakes Basin, we have briars, we have insects galore, spiders, we have mosquitoes, earwigs, ticks. But it's also humid, right? Also always humid here. And we're surrounded by water. So, how many of you have ever sat in wet jeans all day? You keep feeling, right? It's like being in wet socks all day too, right? No fun. So we designed our jeans a very specific way. The fringe serves as 2 purposes. Do we know what a candle is? And what a wick does? Right? It draws up the melted wax to keep it fire, right? So our fringes are wicks. Pulls all the moisture from the interior part out to the side, and as we're walking and the wind blows, it dries our pants. And it looks cool too, but it also serves a purpose. On the bottom of my 501 jeans here, you see where there's a coloring difference from the leather up here? It's dirty, right? It looks like it's stepped on in dirt. Well, if I'm wearing these in the wild and I don't want anybody to follow my tracks and I don't want any animal to know where I'm at, and so that leather kind of smooths out my pants and my track also, right? So not only are we drying our clothes and keeping us from being overly wet or moist, but we're also hiding our footprints too. We're also keeping our trail hidden, so to say. And again, look, it's got that bear paw on there. It's got my blueberries, my fire, and my strawberries. So there's a story through all of this. It's not random. It's not just, oh, well, I'm going to put on a costume, right? How many here wear costumes? I do. But this isn't one of them. This isn't one of them. I've been Little Red Riding Hood. I've been the Big Bad Wolf. I've been a Pokemon. So I've pretended to be something that I'm not, and that's what we put costumes on. I've also been in plays, theatrical plays, and I've put on costumes and worn makeup and wigs. And those are costumes also. The French took a lot of our pelts from us, right? And they kind of ruined our environment. They over-hunted our area. So we took something from them, a really cool word called regalia, which means to wear your regal wear, right? That's their regal wear. And the French, of course, were always so bouffanty and just flowy, right, in the way that we dressed. So we like that idea. So our regalia is what we dance in, is what we go to ceremonies in, it's what we don upon ourselves. Now, these are more old style, what we would have wore prior to the arrival of the European. Do many of you go to South Bend, Indiana at all? Right? And we're familiar with the St. Joseph River, right? So San Bonogonic is what we called South Bend. When the Europeans first came in, the Spanish, the French, and the British, and they brought these beautiful, beautiful pretties. Oh my jeez, right? Look at these beautiful pretties I get to wear, I get to have, all of these beautiful shinies. They brought bling before bling was bling, right? So this is a whole